Only 1 in 4 adults seeks help with mental health problems each year. What's more, research has shown that people who experience stress from financial issues are 20 times more likely to attempt suicide. This is an alarming statistic, so I wanted to speak with someone about why financial worries seem to lead to such devastating action and what we should be doing about it. Simon Gunning is the Chief Executive of Calm, a suicide prevention charity that first launched its life-saving helpline in 1997. Would you mind just starting by telling me a bit about Calm and the work you do here?
Calm is the campaign against living miserably. We have chosen the lens of suicide as a way to gauge the health of the nation. And so we exist as a suicide prevention organisation. And the reason we have to do that is because the numbers are so terrifyingly compelling. There are 125 suicides every week in the UK. And to our mind, that's unacceptable. Our mission is that nobody gets to a point of suicidal realisation, believing that there's nothing else there for them to turn to. So that's the real key, is alternatives to that conclusion.
Why do you think so few people who are impacted actually go and seek help?
Shame, fear, education. Perhaps those are the three. I think it's very interesting as well to note that the largest single referrer to our helpline is the NHS, because if you are presenting for formal medical health care with a mental health issue, waiting times are so long now, actually the NHS is saying you better ring Calm, which brings all sorts of issues and perhaps is a reflection of the state.
Yeah. Okay. And when you're digging into the reasons behind this, whether it is suicide or broader mental health issues, what are the reasons do you think that's driving this in the UK at the moment? The reasons creating this kind of crisis, this epidemic that's going on?
We do know from looking at our own statistics that our use of our helpline has more than doubled since 2020. Visits to our website and associated materials from 16 to 24-year-olds has more than doubled. And on our helpline, mentions of debt and financial insecurity have been the predominant reason for people calling. But I think what we're seeing there is a lack of predictability for the financial future. And now as we see that, that's when we start to see entrapment. That's when we start to see behaviours which become truly worrying.
And when you say it's predominantly driven by money and concerns around money, is that 70%, 80%? What's being the driver?
It's really, really hard to put a number so clearly on money. When we think about money and financial insecurity as being at the heart of the increased use of our services, that will often transpire as anxiety, increased anxiety, a sense of entrapment. You can totally see, can't you, that when you're suffering with poor mental health because of financial insecurity, debt management, you're going to go into a spiral and you're not going to be able to manage other parts of your life purely because you're in this sense of entrapment.
And these people who are in this sense of entrapment and they're spiralling, in your experience, it's actually they don't have anyone they can turn to and actually have the conversation about money or know where to go to.
I think that's exactly it. I think that's exactly it. So I think that what we want to provide is to remove the intimidation around seeking help, because it's shameful. So that shame is such a driver when we look at suicide or despair. It takes such a long time to get over that shame, to express vulnerability, because we're told that financial failure is deep rooted. So you're absolutely right. That having someone to talk to is difficult. It's now become potentially borderline unhelpful cliche that just talking about stuff helps, but it really does.
What are the practical and emotional ways these people could and should be getting support?
If we can avert a negative journey for people that can potentially result in crisis, if we can do that right upstream, and we can give people skills to understand how to manage money, understand how to set expectations around money, and have access to ongoing long-term expert advice, then we're doing real good, because we're preventing that slip.
And what role do you think the government should play in all of this?
A long-term one. I think as far as mental health is concerned, a government has to free itself of the 4-year cycle of Parliament and has to see the suffering that is taking place. Now, it's important to note that every suicide costs £1.68 million. That's £14 billion from the taxpayer every year that is preventable, that is treatable. but we deal in 4-year cycles, and right now that isn't interesting to government. So from a mental health perspective, you have to understand the severity of the situation. We have to. This is not mucking about. This is a big issue, and the root causes are poverty and incarceration and addiction and homelessness and all the kind of things we're fundamentally talking about as a potential result of financial issues. These are the potential results.
So what I take from this conversation, Simon, is that money is at the root of so much of this problem. People's lack of understanding, the fact they don't think they've got anyone to talk to, whether it's in their family or their friends, they don't know where to turn, and they're on this slippery slope that just gets worse, and it gets worse to a point where they're at the extreme. And actually what we need to be doing as society is trying to cut these things off quicker. So actually give people the power and the ability to take control of something so it doesn't seem quite scary to them, and they can live a happier, healthier life than they are at the moment.
It has to be a long-term view around education, around financial security, and it has to be part of the fabric of our society that we will talk about suicide, because talking about it gets it out of the dark and into the light, and we talk about it in terms of real life. And money is part of life. We have to all understand how to be more comfortable, with our own performance in that financial competition that we all participate.
Calm is doing everything it can to reach people suffering from mental health issues of any severity. However, as Simon mentioned, what we really need to do is to encourage people to seek support sooner, particularly regarding their financial worries, because this is such a big issue in the UK. This is something we've been addressing for over 2 years through our business Octopus Money Coach, but I hadn't appreciated quite how big an impact the work they're doing could have on wider society. I contacted Ali Poulton, a head coach at Octopus Money Coach, to discuss how she finds the balance between financial guidance and emotional support. Would you mind starting by just explaining to everyone, so what you do? What's a financial coach?
Octopus Money Coach is a service where clients come to us who are looking to get guidance and education and services and support on their finances.
I think I read somewhere 50% of the people in the UK don't talk to anyone about money.
I think that's where the benefit of being a coach comes in, because it's not just all facts and figures. We talk to the people about their story. We talk to them about their lives, about their dreams, about their goals. Everybody has their own story. It's our job to understand that story. Any goal that anybody has some sort of financial impact, whether that's having children, that means you have to stop working, or you go on maternity leave and your pay is cut, that impacts you financially.
So your conversations with them are primarily about life and life events, and then it's translating the finances, whether it's a pension or savings or spending, into making sure they can live the life they want.
The figures really are the secondary to what the story is, and helping them change habits that they've created and helping them see how they can change their mindset is very important, because obviously mindset is important to mental health, it's important to how we feel about our finances, and unless you can help transform that thinking, you're not going to transform their finances. So I'd rather spend my time talking to them about the emotional side of things and making sure that they're mentally happy, and then sending an email with the details.
And for people who've been struggling, and sometimes I guess struggling for years and years and years with their finances, how quickly does that shift in emotion and how they think about money change?
Within one call.
Really?
Absolutely, because you can take them from a place of fear, not knowing what to do, not having a plan, sticking their head in the sand, to actually, I realise that I might be in a bad place, but with the help of my coach, I know that I'm going to be able to get out of it, and they're going to hold me accountable to getting out of it.
So in your experience, how many people do you think at the start of the conversation with you understand their finances?
Most people who come to us don't have an idea of what they need to do financially to become financially stable, secure, and to prosper in the future.
So where do you think the responsibility lies in terms of educating the UK population?
I definitely think it needs to come through the schooling system. We're not taught enough in the schools of how to look after our own money. We're taught how to read a book and understand history, but why aren't we taught how to open a savings account, how to budget, how to look after our money, how to protect our future, how to have an emergency fund? That should come through the educational system.
Yeah, And do you think for the clients who you're coaching, and the clients you're coaching specifically, the people who specifically have children, are you seeing a knock-on impact as to how the conversations they're having internally in their family about, actually, I'm changing what I do and you should start to follow suit? Does that happen?
When you believe in it yourself and you can do it yourself, you naturally want to tell as many people as possible. And obviously the people that you want to impact the most and you want their life to be as good as possible are your children. So you teach what you know.
And I'm sure for lots of people who are thinking about making this jump, which is must be making them quite nervous, is exactly the right thing. It is primarily an emotional and a life conversation, not a finance conversation, not a numbers conversation. That's very secondary, because that's the bit that they understand and they really want out of all of this. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
What Ali has told me illustrates how deciding to talk about your finances with someone can be the hardest, but also the most rewarding step to take. To understand the true impact of this service, I spoke with Bex, who took a leap of faith to address her money worries with an Octopus money coach.
Hello. Hi. I'm good. How are you?
So if it's all right, it might be great to hear how your relationship with money has changed over the last 4 or 5 years.
My last year at university and studying my masters, it wasn't very enjoyable at all. So I was in a position where I didn't really have money because a lot of it went on, I was working part-time and a lot of it went on the rent. And I really, really felt it. And it did have a massive impact on me and my mental health.
How did that flow through into other parts of your life?
I wasn't eating great because I felt quite low. When it came to not being able to do things as much as I wanted to, like, you know, I'd always try and stay in best spirits, but internally I wasn't feeling that great, which actually eventually made me really ill. I didn't really want to like burden my parents with any of that. I just wanted to kind of just handle it all myself. I had to go to like, therapy to kind of work my way out of it. There were still certain aspects that I wanted to kind of understand a bit more from, I don't know, this is where the professional came in and the coach came in to get a bit more of an understanding.
And in the conversation with the coach, did you when you were thinking about it, was there things around money which you felt they're still off limits, I can't quite share that with them, or was it a conversation which just the process you're going through where actually you kind of unburden yourself?
I think maybe it was just comfortable, and she made me feel quite comfortable to chat to, and I was able to just unburden everything, which was good, and it was quite nice because after I had my sessions, I felt in a better position because I knew that I was planning for the future. And after I had my sessions, I'd be like to my house and I was like, oh, I had this really good session and like, this is kind of the things that I've kind of learned, and I was kind of telling them about the things that I'd learned as well.
Do they go, actually, yeah, I could do with some of that as well?
Yeah, they did. They didn't actually know there were people like that to speak to.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. But I think it is a big problem, and, you know, there's a lot of people who might need to really unload on that financial stress and they don't necessarily know where to go to. And I think sometimes people might be a bit weary in how they might use their money, which is why they don't necessarily talk about it, or they might feel judged in a way.
And what's been more important to you? Is it the practical side of things, as in your pensions here and your contributions like this, and this is the saving rate, or is it the emotional support that you think you've got from the coach?
So definitely the emotional side. I like to have that support when it comes to having a financial coach and just that guidance that I'm on track. But additionally, when it comes to stuff like savings, because I'm currently looking at my future and wanting to really invest in my future as much as I can, that part to me is really important as well.
Okay, so if you were talking to the outside world and you said, look, tangibly, this is the difference financial coaching is going to make to you and your life.
Yeah.
What would you tell me are the two or three big differences it's made to you?
I would say it's made me have a healthier relationship with money, which is good. Reassured. Yeah, it's given me a lot more confidence with money. Because with Money Coach, money doesn't have to be a scary thing. And it's given me that reassurance and confidence to kind of work with. So I do as much as I can to ensure that I'm in a position where I stay on top, even if it's in a position where it might not be the best, but I'm still staying ahead of that curve.
Octopus Money Coach is still relatively young, having only begun its journey in 2021. Yet its timing hasn't come a moment too soon. We need more companies just like them. Financial stress is the biggest cause of mental health problems, and once things start to go wrong, they tend to get worse very quickly, bringing on shame and a feeling of hopelessness. As an employer, I have to recognise the role a company has in all of this. It's not okay to think that responsibility starts and ends with paying someone's wage. We have to look after the emotional and the financial well-being of our employees. Our challenge is to recognise that responsibility and to demonstrate that we exist not just to drive good financial returns, but also to help make the world we live in a better place for everyone.